Hi, friends. Welcome to the Summit Up podcast. I'm your guest host today for this episode, Tim Fisk. And I know you're all going to love this conversation that I'm about to have with none other than our very own Blake Reed Evans. That's right, we've moved all the seats on the bus today to bring you an enlightening conversation with our beloved host. So, Blake, welcome to the hot seat.
I can't wait to be on this side of things.
When we came up with the idea of interviewing you, I really wanted to be the one to do it because of all the kind of hats that you wear, I think I've had the opportunity to experience every single one of them firsthand, except I've never sat in your chair. So I think I need to book an appointment for sometime in 2025 to get in your chair, and then I'll have the full Blake experience.
Totally. I know. I'm like, and we've just known each other for so long too, and you've seen me on the evolution of how things have been. So I'm excited for this. And yes, you need to book a haircut during your one of your 10 million trips to Tampa.
Awesome. Yeah. So, yeah. And on that note, I think I want to talk about all of the hats that you wear. So let's start off like, tell me how you would answer the question, what do you do for a living?
I always say that I'm a hairstylist first. It's first and foremost, it's the lifeblood of who I am, and everything I do spawns off of that. Of course, it depends on the situation, because then you can go down the rest of my LinkedIn. But I just anytime someone asks me that, that's how I respond. I'm a hairstylist first and foremost.
Yeah, that's great. And, for those who don't know, you do wear a lot of other hats too. In addition to being a stylist, you're a salon owner, you're a Redken artist, podcaster, event host, now influencer. Um, Can you give us like a little bit of a timeline of how you stepped into these roles? I'm really
Yeah.
curious about the order in which it all happened for you.
Yeah, so I started at Summit Salon Academy in May of 2010 after promptly dropping out of university, and I learned then that's what a Redken artist was. So I started at Shiar as an associate February 2011, and I started jumping levels. I auditioned to become a Redken artist. I've now officially, by the time this episode comes out, will have been a Redken artist for 10 years. I then kept jumping levels, started growing with Redken, and then started getting some followers on social media. I've seen a really big explosion in this last year, but just kept growing thousands of people, and community is so important to me. And then I became a shareholder in Sheer Art about 6 years ago. And before that, I even joined Summit to do some education stuff because I wanted to teach social media badly, and Summit was the first group to go for it and do it. So I was a part of that, and then I started doing partnerships, and I even dipped my toe in like a corporate job that was semi consulting, semi whatever, and I it wasn't for me. And then yeah, and then I've been a stylist this whole time. I'm still behind the chair 18 hours a week, and then now I just travel every weekend to somewhere new on behalf of one of many brands.
That was a lot, right? And don't forget, also, you decided to start a podcast. So
Yes, I
you're
know.
also
Yes, and I
hosting
have
a
a
podcast.
podcast. Yes.
On top of all of that. But yeah, it's such a cool journey. And I think people would find it interesting to kind of see the order in which, someone in your position who started off as a stylist might evolve their career and what kinds of opportunities are actually available to people in this industry, which is super exciting.
Yeah, I always say like being behind the chair is amazing. I love it. It's amazing for so many different reasons. One, creatively, it's amazing. I love my clients. I love being on the floor with my salon team, and there's nothing wrong with like quote unquote just doing hair, because it's literally one of the most fulfilling parts of my job. I felt a calling to go do education because it completely changed my life in so many ways. So I sought that out, but like there's so many opportunities in this industry. Like you can do more than just quote unquote do hair. There's just so many amazing opportunities, and I've followed a lot of them, and it's been really fulfilling in ways that I wasn't even prepared for. And but at the end of the day, it still comes back to doing hair. I still love it so much.
Yeah. And just thinking about your journey, like coming to the end, and you said it so modestly, like doing paid content, right?
Yeah.
What you didn't say was that you became an influencer on social media.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people who are influencers are uncomfortable saying that they're influencers.
Yeah.
But like, what does it feel like for you to be dubbed an influencer?
I think it's really cool. Like every other creator friend of mine, like will put air quotes if you call us an influencer, like literally giant air quotes. Um, but my favorite thing about it is community. Like the fact that I can hop online and majority of them are like-minded individuals who share the same passion for the same brands I love, the same kind of topics I love. Like it's invaluable. As the number grows, it does become really overwhelming sometimes. But it's also like it's just so cool. Like I love my community online. They are so engaging and insightful, and I get so inspired by the messages and comments and stuff that I receive from people. So it really is the best feeling ever.
As you're saying this, it just kind of reminds me about influence in general. And starting off as a stylist, you are an influencer in a way as well,
1,000%,
influencing the
yeah.
way people see themselves in a chair, and being an educator doing the same thing. Like influence, just in the purest form of its word, whether we're talking about as a stylist, as a leader, as a salon owner, or an educator, it's happening a lot in our industry when people decide to pass it on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so true. And I've said that in social media classes for years. Like, you are the influencer to your guests. Like, and also, if you want to be an influencer, you have to start acting like one anyways. So who better than a captive audience like your clients? They can't go anywhere when you're doing their hair. So you can start talking about the things you want to talk about and then have positive influence over them and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot because it's about a mindset where you're kind of serving other people in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, I think that so many people try to grow a following for ego and vanity, and it shows. Usually it can show in their content, but if you meet them, it can really show in real life. And I can strongly say that, at my best and my worst, I'm pretty much the same person when I'm meeting people in person, or working with them or behind closed doors or any of those things. I try to be the same person in person as well as I am online, so that I'm not causing, I don't know, I think we've all met someone who seems one way online and then you meet them in person and then you're like, whoa, who is
Very
this?
different.
So yeah, I always try to strive for kindness in all things.
I love that. And I feel that about you, having experienced you in lots of different formats. But getting to the actual paid sponsorships, like how did it feel the first
Yeah.
time you monetized your Instagram? How did it feel?
Unreal, because I didn't think it was possible. I just like wanted to. I stumbled into it. It started with Salon Centric, and I was like, "That it takes a protein thing seems pretty cool." And then when I found out that I could like do posts for them and the brands they carry, I was like, "What do you mean I'm gonna like? You're paying me for this?" I just wanted to like do hair for the brand, like I had no idea what it was, to be honest. It just seemed like a cool collective of people, and then here we are many years later, and it's continued to grow, and I feel so thankful for that.
Yeah, and I mean, maintaining a Instagram profile that does bring value to brands, it is work, right?
Yeah, 1,000%. Like I just did a brand sponsorship with a brand outside of the industry that was gunning for the salon world, and it was really intense working with them, only because there's so much back and forth. There's so much legalities. I had to like pitch scene for scene what I was going to film before I filmed it. And then they had their guidelines of like when the product needed to be showed, when the ad disclosure was. So like just that one project alone had many more hours than the actual like 40-second video that was posted. So many people think, oh, you just like click record and go. And there's just so much more behind the scenes. There's negotiating, there's all sorts of different things that go into it. And then you get the final product. Some brands are easier than others, I've learned. Salon Centric is amazing to work with because they are easygoing. They have guidelines, and as long as you follow them, all is good. But yeah, and then it's been really, really cool. And it's great for me and for my followers to understand too. The reason why brand deals are good for them, for me to have, is that I carve out now time in my week to record content that's not just paid content. So I'm constantly able to bring additional value to my page because because of getting paid for different things, now I can really focus and find time to make the content that I need to make so that I can constantly offer free education to them.
That's great. Yeah. And I do want to unpack that a little. For those of you that don't know, 63,000 followers on Instagram, 27,000 followers on TikTok. Is your approach to your footprint and your feed different now that you're monetizing your Instagram than it was before?
I'm definitely more consistent, like even more consistent than I was consistent. And I took a break this summer just to like rebalance. Like I'm putting stuff out, but it's not as consistent as it was. I'm ramping up now to put out a lot more. But yeah, it's changed a little bit. I'm still who I am, but I've also found out like really what works. So like I know people want like my take on stuff on the industry. They want formulation, any sort of like taking something complicated and making it simple has also become kind of a thing for me. And then funny memes occasionally too. Those always seem to do well. So I kind of stick within that lane because I feel like anytime I step out of it, it doesn't do as well.
Sure. You said that once you started to get as many followers as you have, it started to get a little maybe overwhelming feeling. Can you talk a little bit about that? What it feels like?
Yeah, I mean, just imagine like think about your Instagram follower count right now, and then imagine they all showed up in a room and you were talking to them, right? So, if you're chilling there with like 1,200 followers, like that's over 1,000 people that would be staring at you. So now inflate that to whatever number you want to compare, influencer wise. The higher the number got, the bigger the pressure got, but also like the better it felt because I knew that I was having an impact on people. I knew that I was helping people in because of the messages and the comments and everything like that. So in ways, as I got nervous, I was also calmed down because I was having an impact on people. And like, that's my goal at the end of the day. Like my goal, I think I set out when I started doing education was to impact over 1 million hairdressers through education. And I remember writing that mission statement when I first started educating, and I don't even know if I could quantify that now with social media because I don't think I fully took that into consideration 10 years ago. But I think I've achieved it, and if not, I'm damn close to doing that, whether it was through a onstage presentation or a video online. And I think that's pretty cool to tell. I'm now 33 to tell 23-year-old Blake, like, you did it way before you thought way before your career's over. That was just my goal for my entire career. So for that to, I'm pretty sure it has happened, is crazy to think about. I never really thought about it until just this moment, actually. So it's cool to think about.
Yeah. And, staying grounded in the reason why you started doing this in the first place. Every time I ask a stylist why they became a stylist, I usually get some answer that is around serving other people or having some sort of influence on the way they see themselves. I love the look on their face when I turn the chair around and I see their confidence and their empowerment. Do you feel like what you're doing online is similar?
I definitely feel like it in some ways, like I always say this at the beginning of color classes is like, how many of us are you in the back of your color bar saying things like, I think this is going to look good, or I feel like this is going to look good. And you're not saying, I know that this is going to look good. My goal is just to help people know that their formulations are going to be good and that the results are going to be amazing. And the only way you do that is through principles. And that's what my platform is all about. So I know that I'm making people feel more confident in themselves and more empowered. And then also to add sometimes a voice of reason to the extremism that happens in our industry in particular of like, just cancellation policies or whatever, just being like, there's room. Both things can be true. You should have maybe cancellation policies, but maybe they don't need to be as prison strict as some of them have been in the last 5 years, Sure. So I just try to, I know I'm adding value, and I think that I know it's helpful because people have told me that, and I can tell when people say things just to like be nice, and then whenever I know it's having impact on people.
Well, thanks for sharing your insights on that. I know people are interested in just how this comes to be, but I don't want it to take away from all of the other hats that you wear as well. Like, there is a lot of meaning that's coming out of the other things you do. So do you ever get overwhelmed wearing so many hats?
Yeah, no, all the time. Like my week, if you look at my calendar, my iCal, it's just like in one day, it's like a meeting with a brand, then I'm doing a one-on-one for my company, and then after that I'm recording a podcast episode, and then I have to shower to get ready to go to the salon, and then do a 6-hour shift at the salon. Like that's and like that's exactly what my day is like. And then of course like that I need time off, so that I block that off too. But like my whole life is typically planned for me easily like a year to like a year and 3 months to 6 months like out. Just depends on the event. Like I'm starting to receive contracts now in July 2024 that literally are starting in like late next 2025. So it's a very amazing position to be in. And yes, it is a little overwhelming. And Tim said I probably need like a personal assistant, and I think that's true. Yeah.
I did say that to you last time we talked, actually. But how do you avoid burnout? Like, what kinds of things do you do to avoid burnout?
Yeah, I think I forgot which podcast episode it was that I talked about burnout. It might have been with Stephanie Russell. Anyways, I have been burnt out. And burnout, like you know it when it's happened, when it happens, after it happens. Now I can see the signs leading up to it, and for me, the feeling of burnout is like I don't want to do this anymore. I can feel like me being like I can feel short tempered or like easily upset, and that's not my normal temperament. So anytime that I feel like irritated in a simple conversation, that's usually my telltale sign I'm overwhelmed or on the verge of burnout. And to avoid it, it's to make sure that I do have time with my family, and then also like literally time to do nothing. It's my favorite thing to do is nothing at all. So like just having time to like mindlessly scroll or watch show on TV or whatever. I need that really bad to be able to stay grounded. And then of course like meditation helps, having a good plan helps. And then I've also learned the more flexible you are, the more easier life is. So I'm a very like easygoing person. You know, like the last 24 hours, it took me 24 hours to get home from New York City to Tampa, which is typically a 2-hour flight. It happens. No, there's nothing I could do. Nothing I could do to control it. I can't control lightning and crew delays. So it just comes with the job, and then I just stay flexible from there. And I think the flexible mindset is the most helpful thing to avoid burnout. And if I can feel it coming on, I just start drawing boundaries where I need to, and like moving stuff around to make sure that I stay well-minded.
You mentioned your family, and we didn't talk about your personal life as one of the other hats that you wear. And I don't want to dig into your personal life like that, but do want to say like you are a husband, you're a father. How do you make sure that you're showing up for your family while you also wear these other professional hats?
Yeah, so I the second I get the school calendar, I block it out as much as possible. So I want to be at the open house and the performance and the parent teacher conferences and like all that stuff, right? I want to be involved with as much of that as possible. So I try to block out as much of that as possible. The good thing about being an entrepreneur, I have control over everything. So like if there's something I don't want to do, I can just say no thank you. And then in a salon owner role, I have so many other shareholders on my team that if I can't handle something, I can pass it off to somebody. So like if anything is starting to feel imbalanced, I'm able to kind of either say no thank you, I'm so sorry, we'll have to postpone this, or whatever. And then of course like we block out our family trips. Usually once the year starts filling in about 50%, then we'll book trips around that. Because usually my family can kind of come with me to some cool places. Like they were with me in New York this week. So like they'll come with me to certain things, and then I really do try to find much balance as possible. And I try to block one weekend a month with no travel, unless there's like just, this amazing opportunity I can't pass up. But other than that, one weekend a month I usually try to have off.
Yeah. So much that I want to kind of expand upon here. So you said like sometimes you have to say no. So you have said no to opportunities. Is it hard to say no to opportunities?
Yeah, well, of course. And like as a person who's like, I'm still growing. I'm like every opportunity is an amazing opportunity to meet new people and grow. And and all of that. So I've definitely had to say no. But I think one piece of advice that was really good that was given to me was from Braden Peltier, which is in order to say yes to something, you have to say no to something else. So whenever you say yes to something, you need to think what's happening in counterpart to this that you can't do. So is it time behind the chair with your family? What is it that you're saying no thank you to, in order to say yes to something else? So I do try to think about that in limbo. I mean, like, remember years ago, I had the opportunity to do the cover of American Salon, or have the chance of being on the cover of American Salon, I should say. It was to do hair for a contest I had won. And in order to do it, I had to leave on my wife's birthday. And we're a big holiday family. And I just looked at her and I was like, listen, I will say no if you want me to, but I really want to do this thing. And she goes, you know what? I'll have the morning with you. We'll celebrate when you get back. And it was worth it, because then I ended up getting the cover of American Salon that year, for that month. And it was worth it because we still had time together. And also I had that really big career success. And yeah, and then there are other times where, like, I've missed things that I didn't want to miss, and I regretted saying yes to the thing because it wasn't worth the time, money, or exposure. And I wish I would have just stayed home. So now I've done this, like this year, I said no thank you to something that limited me from doing, like, it probably would have been like 10 different contracts I probably would have gotten from doing it for classes. But because I couldn't go to the training for said thing, all those other opportunities crumbled with it. But I would have missed my daughter's 13th birthday, and I wasn't willing to sacrifice that, So, and it was worth it, and I don't regret it at all.
Absolutely understandable. One of my first mentors in this industry was Randy Kunkel, and I'll never forget what he said to me: you have to give to get. And I think that translates not just directly to, like, sometimes you have to say no to things, sometimes you have to say yes, but if you want something, you have to be willing to pour into it, to, like, prioritize it, and then understand that it will cut into some of the other things that you're doing. So,
Yeah.
when life is moving so fast and those opportunities are coming your way, Blake, like, how do you decide what to let go of and remember fondly, maybe, and what opportunities to embrace? Like, what are some of the litmus tests for you?
Yeah, I mean, the litmus test first starts with, is it in alignment with something that, or with what I'm about, which is, kindness, education, community, kind of are core values of mine. So if it violates any of those, it's an easy no. I've also been doing the, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. So if I'm not enthusiastically saying yes, then I probably shouldn't be doing it. And then of course the family safety net of, like, is it interfering with something that I already have planned with my family? And, like, I would probably say like 90 something % of the time, I'm not going to interrupt that. It would have to be a really major thing, like a magazine shoot, for me to even infiltrate that time.
So what is one of your favorite opportunities that you've had in your career, looking back?
I think so far, my first favorite opportunity is probably my most embarrassing one. Was I was in the middle of Redken artist training still, and I was just going to be assisting at the Samvia booth selling shears, and someone was sick, and I had the opportunity to go on stage. I bombed. I was sweaty because I was so nervous, and the lights were so hot. But then I realized I could do it, and that was also the first time I'd been recognized from social media. It was all in the same time.
Wow.
And that was literally 10 years ago. So that moment really stands out for me. I think when I got to host, actually, and I know this sounds probably cheesy to anyone or to our friends listening, but when I got to host, like, Summit Unplugged, that was a really big milestone for me, because I've always loved, like, personality, community, bringing people together. It's why I love having, being on being a host of a podcast, but being able to host an event that big with a brand as big as Summit, like, that was a really huge moment. And then I'd probably say another one was being able to teach at the Redken Exchange in New York City. And just as a little kid, I've always wanted something attached to New York, and to be able to do that and work in New York on a regular basis is, like, major. So I'd probably say those are, like, just, like, really big moments that are very surreal whenever they're happening actively.
I will say I was there for Summit Unplugged, and it was amazing. And I'd never been to a multi-day event that was hosted by a person that was kind of taking us through the entire
Yeah.
event. And I was just kind of in awe of how you brought that energy throughout the entire 2 days. It was just,
Yeah, it was so cool. Like I don't even sometimes I'm still like I can't believe that this is happening. Like and honestly Summit Unplugged inspired me doing like a retreat for my own followers. Like the reaction to that event I was like I want a small version of that for my followers. Like it was such an amazing experience. It was not only as just getting the content from it, but just from being a part of the production and stuff. It was just so cool. Like it unlocked something in me that I didn't realize that I would have loved as much as I did, because I was very nervous going going into it. It was very high pressure, because you can only imagine for our friends listening that it's the first time Summit's ever done something like this. First time Summit's done a big conference where everyone comes together. Usually we go out to you. So for this to be like the first thing, the pressure was on. But Summit didn't put the pressure on. I just knew what was at stake. And it paid off. It was cool. So I can't wait for the next Unplugged.
oh yeah, yeah,
Willing
yeah.
there be one.
There will be one for sure. I can't wait. It was an amazing
Yeah.
event. Just like pivoting to some of our listeners here, there's got to be a lot of stylists, estheticians, nail artists who are imagining their career taking them out from behind the chair or the treatment
Yeah.
room. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about how to find opportunities outside of their service provider
Yeah.
activities?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that is a really scary reality when you decide to go into education. Particularly, is I was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday service provider. So when I went to education, as many of us in this industry know, classes happen Sunday, Monday. That was fine when I first started, because I only had to shave off Sundays. But then all of a sudden I got opportunities to start flying, and there went Saturdays, which is probably the scariest day for any service provider who works Saturdays to get rid of, because Saturday people are Saturday people. So
Yes.
I was so scared. So the biggest piece of advice I have is you have to, whatever you're pursuing, whether it's influencing or education or any consulting or anything of that nature, your why has to be bigger than the dollars, because there's going to be a weird year or so where like you may make less, but if you're passionate about what you're doing, then it doesn't matter. It can be more, absolutely, but that first year or so when you're chasing a passion, it's an investment into a different career. Like being an educator is completely different than being a hairdresser. Night and day difference. Obviously, there's a lot of overlap because I'm teaching a hairstylist, but it's a completely different skill set. So that skill set wasn't as valuable at the time as my hairstyling skills. So then I did lots of free classes, lots of free assisting, lots of free those first few years, but it paid off in the long run because of the connections of people I met, the impact I had, the networking, and all of that stuff. And yeah. So it can be scary, but your why has to be bigger than the dollars for sure.
Yeah, you have to be prepared to give to get in that situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a place that you think somebody should be at in their career when it's maybe safe to look outside from behind the chair? Like, if I'm in year one of being a stylist, should I try to establish myself a little bit, or should I just go for it whenever I feel it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is older Blake talking, and then I'll tell you what younger Blake did. Older Blake says your bills have to be paid, like apartment, car, food, a little bit of fun. Like you need to be kind of financially in that place. That can be level one in pretty much any company. If you're level one, almost level two, that should be your reality. If you're a full-time employee, like all that stuff should be kind of met. So it can be level one, level two, but you need to take a lot of classes to really be a good educator. you can go the influencer route too, and things can really blow up for you there. And then education opportunities will come from there. Posting online, that doesn't take you away from anything really. So I would encourage you to go that route. You need to be posting online to be an educator for a brand anyways these days. So there's that. Then there's younger me who is I gunned for it and I did whatever I could. I invested so much money when I probably didn't really have it. In fact, at times I didn't have it to take the classes that I took to help become an educator. But it still paid off. It was really risky sometimes, like, being like, okay, $2,000 for a class, fine, I'll figure it out. But I did, and it worked out. And I do thank my planner for that, because I was like, I have a new $2,000 expense. I'm going to budget that into my day, and you better believe everybody's getting conditioning treatments. And like, yeah, and that would, I guess, would be my other advice too, is like, make sure you're using that planner regularly. And I'm not saying that because this is a Summit podcast. I'm saying that because it's literally the only way I survived through all of that financially, as I was investing thousands of dollars into my education.
It's funny, about the most successful stylists that I've talked to, all of them actually talk about the planner. And
Yeah.
it's just, I say that to my own stylists. I say, listen, look at these people. I pull up their Instagrams. Every single one of them will talk to you about the planner. So, but I love that, what you're saying is it really is a choice that's individual to each person. But, take care of yourself first and make sure you understand what you're going to have to give up in order to pursue some of these opportunities. So,
Yeah. And then also, like, it's taken 10 years to become an overnight success. Like, I've literally been doing this for 10 years. I just now, like, my following really grew in this last year. My educational opportunities have blown up even more over the last year. I've been doing it borderline full time for years. But the kind of opportunities have come. Like, I just did a training for Redken Canada in New York, and someone said to me something about like, it's so great to have a fresh breath air and just have someone new. And I was like, wow. Like, like, I know that they didn't mean it like that, but for a second I was like, new? Are you kidding? I've been around for 10 years, but to them, I'm new. And then that became fuel of like, okay, great. There's so many more people I need to meet. And this person was in the Redken, sphere of the world. Right. So, but yeah, it takes a lot of work to get far in this industry. The best piece of advice though I have is that no matter what, behind the chair can't leave you. Like, overnight, all of your clients are never going to leave you. So make sure that you keep that watered and keep that fueled. Because if everything crumbles, like we went through a pandemic, everything crumbles, and no more traveling, right? No more classes, really. We're on Zoom, and hairdressing, being a hairstylist, that didn't leave me. I came back to a full clientele. So just keep that in mind whenever you're going into this, that like, don't lose what you're doing as a service provider.
well, thank you for that. And I think we're all glad to hear that you're embracing being new, which means you have a lot more in you to give us.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate that. And thank you for being really honest about the journey and the ups and downs of it. Where can people connect with you if they haven't already, Blake?
Yeah, I would love to connect with everybody. My handle is the same on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, at Blake Reed Evans. My email is bevans@summitsalon.com if you want to send an email. And I would love to connect with anybody that wants to connect. If you need advice on education or wanting to step into the social media world or anything like that, I'm a big fan of voice notes back.
Wonderful. And take him up on that, folks, because he will respond. I love that. Well, in the grand tradition of Sum It Up, I want to ask you that one final question. What does happiness mean to you?
Let's see the audio. Okay, you're back. Okay. Did you ask that happiness question?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, Andrea.
It might
So
have been me, though. So, Blake, why don't I ask the question again, just in case it was me that froze?
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
So in the grand tradition of the Sum It Up podcast, I want to ask you our final question. What does happiness mean to you?
Happiness to me is being able to fulfill myself personally and professionally, and keeping whatever balance is possible between it. Control of time has been really important to me. So as long as I feel like I have that little bit of control over where I spend my time, that's where I'm the most happy.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Blake. And thank you, listeners, for joining us on this very special episode of Sum It Up. And remember, if you like what you hear, please leave a review and tell your friends. Thanks, Blake.
Thank you, everyone.